Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. Yes, where you get to choose, change and take some action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice and change and the amazing guests I have on here. Personally, from a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The earth has been a massive inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me and given me the tools to know that anything is possible. Here is what I choose. What are you going to choose? Hi everyone, welcome to Choice, Change and Action podcast. I'm Simone Milasas, and what you are about to hear is an interview that I did with Gary Douglas live at El Lugar, which is a property in Costa Rica that we are developing as somewhere that you can go and you can ride horses. We'll have seminars there. You can just be at peace with yourself. It is truly so incredible. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Now, what it does remind me of is the book that Gary Douglas wrote called The Place. If you haven't read it, it's in audio, and it's also obviously a book. You can get it on Audible and Amazon, etc. accessconsciousness.com as well. It's amazing. And to me, Gary wrote this book about how you can be with the land, with people. It's got fabulous story in it that you're just like, oh, what's happening next? What's happening next? But to me, the first time I ever read this book, it was everything I knew should be possible, like everything that is possible. It's like how you can be in a relationship, how you can engage with other people, with the land, with animals, etc. So what we're looking at doing is creating this into a movie. We've already got the script written, which is really fabulous, by Scott Rosenberg, and we're looking for funding and investors to create this to be a movie. And you know what, personally, I'd like this to be done way sooner than later. It's like, I know in the movie industry, things tend to take a long, long time. What if this didn't? What if we could ask for the magic? So even if you can, donate $10, that's great. 10,000, that's even better. It's like, whatever you have, I would love it. We have the GoFundMe account. The details are going to be in the show notes. And we also have, if you're interested, for the bigger investors, we have something possible that you can invest and then you can share in the dividends. But if I'm going to ask you, if you do invest, let's invest in the possibilities that we can create here on planet Earth. If it wasn't about the money, it's like, what would you choose? So please enjoy this podcast live from El Lugar with Mr. Gary Douglas. So welcome everybody to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. Today is a great day. I am actually in Costa Rica. And hopefully you can hear those birds at El Lugar, which is...
Can you hear the construction?
Yeah, no, because of the mic.
Okay,
but
cool.
The birds might be a little bit closer. Well,
Okay, good.
you know what? We'll find out what you hear when we listen to it. But those birds are definitely alive and very present with us. And I'm here with Gary Douglas. Welcome, Gary.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, Miss Simona.
So
I started to say Mona.
What I wanted to talk to you today about is actually the book that you wrote, The Place.
Yes.
And can you just take me back to when did this idea come up to write this book and how did it eventuate?
Well, it's like I had the story in my head from years ago because I had driven up in the John Day National Forest years ago and stopped. And it's like, and it was so silent and beautiful there. You could hear the birds and you could hear the sound of my motor cooling, popping. And I went, oh my God, this is amazing. What an amazing place. And I went, oh, that's, something that people should have, this sense of peace and the sense of possibility and the sense of something greater. And then as I've done all the metaphysical stuff I've done, and I've done some of the drug, sex, and rock and roll that I've done, I've had very many experiences that go beyond what is normal. And I began to realize beyond normal is actually more real to me than normal. And so I started to look at how can I show this to people and how can I create something greater for this. And that's how the book started.
It definitely is beyond normal, Gary. And so what we're looking at the moment is you've been talking to Scott Rosenberg.
Yes.
About he's started by, well, he's actually written the script for the place. And what we're looking at doing is creating it as a movie. So, what made you start to look at that? Can you tell us about that
Well,
process?
first of all, I could. It's like once I wrote the book and I could see it visually as I wrote it, which is very weird. It's like I'm seeing pictures of things and pictures of different things and different possibilities. And it reminded me a lot of, a movie that I should be seeing in a, TV program or something. And it's all those TV programs that I fell in love with when I was a kid and all the places where, the Twilight Zone, loved the Twilight Zone. And it was the Twilight Zone was that one step beyond and these different programs that were designed to give you a sense that you had to look at what else is possible always, because otherwise you're just going to keep creating the same reality and the same stuff. And I knew that I had to create something different, better, and greater in my own life if I was going to be happy. And I
Well,
am.
yes, you are. And it's interesting because some of the descriptions, of the experience of communion with nature are incredible, and how you weave them as this like metaphor of living. Would you like some of the movie to be narrated and included those descriptions?
Yes, I'd love it. It's like I would love for that to be there because it's like it's what is the gift that we all have available that most of us will not choose.
Mm. Where do you see it being filmed?
Uh, I would like it to be filmed in places like the John Day National Forest, which is just an amazing place.
Mm-hmm.
And the one scene where Jake gets out of the car and goes in the water and the fish start nibbling on him
Yeah.
and they ducks come swimming around. It was actually an experience I had there. So it's like it just is the way things should be.
So, what are you aware of that's possible with this movie? Like, what future can it create?
I you know I see that it could open the door to people actually saying how the earth tries to give to us in ways that we don't receive, we don't know. And so that's why I'd like to see this as a movie, because I think it would give that gift of the peace that earth creates and that is beyond normal.
And if you're listening to this on Spotify, etc., or iTunes, you can actually flick over to YouTube, and I'm going to have a bunch of footage of El Lugar, the property in Costa Rica that we have, which El Lugar in Espanol is the place. So, can I ask you a question of I get like the ecosystems of all of this being the place where we are right now. Oh my God, there's so many beautiful birds flying in. And the movie, the book, all of it. How does that all sort of weave
Well, it's
together?
like when we drove on this property to start with, I went, "Oh my God, this is the place." And this property had been in the same family for 80 years, and they did not destroy it. They just worked with the land and did things. Like on the other side of the river, they actually planted where it was jungle before. There's a thing that they do in Costa Rica, which is really about the reestablishing forest, where they took it out to create cattle
Mm-hmm.
zones. And for me, it was interesting to see that what they had done is they had planted almond trees. Now, almond trees are the one thing that are eaten by the macaws. And the macaws are an endangered species here in Costa Rica because they've been collected and bought and taken out of the country to other countries and to private homes. And so the macaws are an endangered species. And what they did is they put the almonds in so that they would come here to breed,
Wow.
which I think is just awesome. And this place is more that than anything else.
Oh, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Like walking around here, riding horses around here. It's you can't explain what this place is like. You really
No,
can't. It's like, and it's one of the things that you said to me a little while ago is how trees bleed oneness. Like there's a whole
they
lot
do.
of places in the world who bleed time, and how trees bleed oneness. And I've never seen so many beautiful, diverse trees here.
Well, I mean, the one thing I said is we are committed to not cutting down any trees, not any. And so there's a kind of tree that they use here in Costa Rica to build fences. And it's like once you stick it in the ground, it starts growing roots, and then eventually it can grow into a full grown tree. So we have trees like this all over the property that were actually fence lines. And so we kind of use those as a delineation of roadways and stuff rather than cutting them down. And the first contractors we hired wanted to cut everything down and shave off all three. They wanted to shave off 3 meters, 12 feet of soil, so that they could have a rock solid base to build with concrete foundations. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. They go, but that's the way we do it here. And I said, that's not the way I'm doing it, and I'm not going to do that, and you're fired. And I actually fired three different architects because their thing was that you had to do it like normal in the city kind of thing. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted this to be something that blended with the land, worked with the land. It was a gift of the land and to the land. And that's not what most people want to do.
Well, it's interesting because the way you wrote the book as well, I mean, years ago when you started writing it, I was traveling with you and Dane in Europe, and you had half written it and you said to us, can I read it to you? And we were sitting on the bed listening to you and you're reading, and then you turned around and looked at us, and both of us had tears streaming down our face, and you went, is it bad? And we were like, oh my God, no, this is everything that I knew could exist here on planet Earth.
Yes,
it's like
and
what I had been seeking. Yeah.
It should exist.
And that's what I get that you're creating here, or we are creating here.
We are creating here. It's like that. This is the target, the goal of it, to create a physical, actualization of this here.
So a couple of things, I read the script recently, and a couple of notes that I wrote down, and I was just wondering if you could just, explore a little bit more on these topics. So the first point that I wrote down, I was on the plane, is I love how you say, you are where you are supposed to be. You are here.
Yes.
Can you expand on that for us?
Well, from my point of view, is like wherever you go, wherever you are, that's where you're supposed to be. Your energy is required for some reason. Your energy is a different possibility for some reason. Why? Not sure.
Yeah. It was actually really relaxing when I read that on the plane, because I'm on the plane going, I'm here.
Yeah.
This is where I'm meant to be right now. Yeah. What I'm contributing. So the next part that I wrote down was vulnerability of allowing yourself to receive from the gifts of others, energy flowing between them. And the question was, are you willing to receive that intensity? Can you talk more about that?
Well, it's like when you actually are truly willing to receive, and there's a vulnerability that's required for you to truly receive. You have to be present without a point of view in order to receive everything. When you have that, that's when you find your best lovers. That's when you find your best buys. That's when you find the place that's so wonderful to be that you cannot resist it. So I wanted to create that here in a physical form. And this is where I needed to be. And like I said, when we drove onto this property, I went, oh my God, this is it. It was funny because we drove onto the property and said, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And Claudia said to me, this is the ugly part. I went, what?
I remember that.
It was beautiful. And it's like, and then we went to the other part, which was over the river. And it's like, and it is amazing over there. It is more beautiful on this side. But the funny part about it is, as we have built this side, it's been interesting to watch the houses. They so melt in with the property.
I know.
That they actually are a contribution to making it prettier.
Yeah.
And the place gets more beautiful all the time from housing. Housing is never something that makes more beautiful.
No, I mean, I've been here so many times and, ridden around the property, etc. And then the last time I came, there was starting to build, and now it's more. And I've never been somewhere where building contributed something that became greater, like on the land. But I get that that's the future that's been created here, and all the possibilities are available too. So there's another part here that I really liked, and it said, in the script, it said, check the messages in your heart before your emails.
Yes.
Like open the envelope, read what is inside.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah. It's like what I do is I don't look at my emails. My emails are not my source of life. The emails I've received from people and stuff start giving me things. Things start to show up in a different way. And it's like, and I look at it and it's like, okay, so what is this person telling me? What does this person really need? It's like I have some people that I'm dealing with right now that have busted up relationships and they're having a hard time. And I have some people who have, like gone off the wagon and become alcoholics again. And it's like these people desire something from me, and I keep having to ask, okay, so what is it you truly desire? What is it you want?
Hmm. So check the messages in
Yeah.
your heart, like
Yeah.
that place too, of like what's actually like the way I look at that too is that know who you are. What is it that you actually are asking for? What is it that you're seeking? Which this book, one of the things that you wrote about this is the seekers, they're looking for something different. And if you're one of those people out there who looks around and goes, this can't be it, seriously, this can't be it, that was like me. And 21 years ago I met you, Gary.
Yeah.
And I found access consciousness and I was like, wow. And that is what I'd been looking for my entire life.
Yeah.
And that's what this place, the property, the book, the movie, that, like I said, and if you want to find out more details about this, we'll have it all in the show notes, etc., that you can actually contribute and help us create this movie. There's various ways that you can do that, and we would be very open to possibilities of what that can look like. Another piece that you said, which it has to do when it was snowing there, and you said snow has an intense sense of caring.
Yes, it does.
It strokes, caresses, and nurtures your body and your being.
Yes, it
I
does.
love that.
Yeah, because that's the way I see snow.
Mm.
It's like it can make you cold, but it's like it caresses you before it goes to cold. And it also creates the silence that most of us need to such a degree we have no idea, because our world is so filled with noises, so filled with the constant shattering of the peace of life. And one of the things I love about El Lugar here is it's like we have no televisions yet. We will eventually because they need televisions for birth control in Costa Rica. And that's how people don't have children, they watch television. So, yeah.
So there'll be lots of sex here, lots of sex, and lots of people getting
sex,
pregnant. No.
That's lots of people having,
but yeah, it's interesting because I was writing the other day at the back, and that the in the back part of the property here, and I was like, God, it's a different world.
Yes, it is a different world.
Like there's crap going on all around the world, and I'm riding across these beautiful bright green fields with these amazing trees and the sounds of the birds and the animals, and it was like, wow, this is what the world should be.
This is what the world should be, and this is the way the world should be, and it's not, and it should be, and it needs to be created that way, and people have to start to choose it, or we're going to destroy this earth, because that it's like we've got more noise pollution, we've got plastic pollution, we've got all kinds of stuff. But interestingly enough, we get a new kind of technique for handling the waste products of people.
Yeah.
And one of the things they said is like they had done the original septic system with rocks. And they said, what we found is there's this other thing that's better, and that's plastic bottle caps, because they don't disintegrate and they don't wear away where rocks will.
Wow, there you go. So we're using it to our advantage.
Now we're using it to facilitate what we're already doing. And we should learn how to use plastic in a way that creates that kind of thing instead of just trashing it,
dismissing it,
and acting as though it has no real effect.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see a whole lot of people just the things that they quote unquote don't know how to handle or what choice to make with it, then they will just dismiss it and push it outside of their life rather than going, okay, well, we created this, so what are we going to do?
What can we use this for?
Yeah.
It's like that was one of the reasons I chose Costa Rica, is because they still have a mentality of, okay, what can we use this for? Because they don't just throw things away the way so many others do. And it's like South America, Central America itself is more about what can we do with this, because they don't have massive resources, and they don't have the ability to mine it out of existence the way we do in the United States and Australia and Asia and other countries.
And the manufacturing, yeah.
Yeah.
So the last piece I want to mention here in the book, or in the script that I read, you spoke about choice is ours to use as we wish.
Yes.
It cannot be forced upon or taken away.
Correct.
I was like, God, that's so potent and brilliant and
Only
beautiful.
you would see that as potent and brilliant.
Oh, it's awesome. But can you expand on that for everyone else?
Well, it's like, for me, it's like you have a choice, you have a capacity to choose things, and it's like when you make a choice, that opens a door to a whole bunch of other possibilities in your life that you're not aware of. So it's like I'm looking to create something where we have choice and possibility as a truth and a possibility, not as it's something we're going to have to be sorry for.
Yeah, and I loved that you said it cannot be forced.
No.
And it cannot be taken away.
Correct.
Yeah. So with The Place, the movie,
yeah,
what else do you perceive what else is required in order to actualize this?
Well,
besides the obvious money.
Money is the primary
thing. The primary.
We need the money to actually be able to make the movie, and we need some stars who would be willing to be part of it.
Who would you like to?
I'd really like to have either James Brolin or Matthew McConaughey as Uncle Jake.
Oh, yeah.
Uncle Jed, rather.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would like somebody that's young and pretty and has a good butt, so it can be naked, and as Jake.
Right. Yeah.
And and we need some really good actors who can pretend to be twins and make that come off. And then we need a beautiful woman who is amazing and serene and to be Ruth.
And has the sexualness of receiving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Has the capacity to receive and be sexual. There's it ultimate.
And if you have not read the book The Place, I highly recommend getting it. It's actually on Audible in Gary's voice.
Yes, and do you know I read that book in 8 straight hours?
Yeah, I was at your house in Santa Barbara when you did it, and you read it. You do read it fast, so you've got to listen. You're gonna have to listen again. I'm going to give you that download right now because the book is brilliant. It's like one sentence is what people would describe in pages.
The editor said that I should take the description of Uncle Jed and I should expand it to a whole chapter. I said no. I want to be this one paragraph that people have to read 3 to 5 times in order to actually get the character of Uncle Jed.
I just realized it is a book that I have read a few times and I've listened to a few times as well. And I don't usually do that with books. I've read them. That's it.
Yeah.
But I actually have listened to it quite a few times.
And it needs it.
Yeah, a friend of ours was saying recently that she has been reading it when she's been flying and on flights, and there's such a sense of relaxation she has when she's flying when she reads it.
Well, that's not the only thing. It's like what I see is you read it and it's like, and suddenly you see a whole new universe that you didn't see the first time.
Yeah, that's very true.
And that's really what I wanted the book to be.
And the first time, like when I said that, you read it and you turned around to myself and Dane and was like, is it bad? And we were crying. Was the first thing I heard from it was the way you can be in relationship with others. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that is what I always knew could exist.
Yes, and should exist. And it pretty much doesn't.
And then, I think the next time it was like, wow, this is how you can be with the planet, you know?
And that's the other thing is like, it's like we need to learn how to be with the planet because we've just been using it, abusing it, and taking from it and thinking that it'll be okay. But it's like the reality is if we keep destroying things we do the way we do, we're going to create a disaster here. And it's like, and I would like to avoid the disaster by changing the language, the talk, the verbality of the earth and become in communion with it and listen to it and let it tell us what we can do and can it. That's one of the things I love about all the houses here. I had the contractor and David Kubis, who's involved with us. I had them go out and I said, figure out where the houses want to be. You can put them anywhere you want. And they went out and they looked at it and go, okay, let's go and let's move this over here and let's face this in this direction. and they face things so that there's views from every friggin' house, and it's amazing.
Being
They're all
in
different.
communion. Yeah. I mean, that's, to me, that's the only way to be. And if you're listening to this, and I know so many people, but what can I do? It's like, well, you know
Read
what?
the book and you'll get an idea.
Yeah, read the book, you'll get an idea.
And if you have some money, send us some money to make the movie, because we need a minimum of $5 million, up to $25 million. But at $25 million, we'll make a much bigger and greater movie.
Yeah, and I'll put in the show notes, and I'll leave you some information as well, because we have a GoFundMe account, and we're also asking for investors as well. There's a possibility to invest in this, and
but if you're going to invest, please know that you need to do it from the point of view that you can use a tax write-off, because not all movies make money. I think this one will, but that's my point of view, and I like me.
Well, on another note, every single thing I've ever invested, I've never done it to actually I've never been vested in the outcome of making money. I've invested for the fun and the joy of it. And then what I see ends up showing up is I end up making money. So how does it get any better than that? Huh? Yeah, weird. So Gary, is there anything else that you would like to say to the listeners before we
come to the place one way or another?
I like it. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Gary Douglas. I adore you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Take care, sweet thing. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes, and lastly, have way too much fun today.